nothing is more central to rock mythology than is the idea of the guitar hero. And no one has done more to create this cult of virtuosity than has Eric Clapton. And it is for this reason, and many, many others, why Eric is our final inductee into our Mount Rushmore of the blues. I'm Steve Murray, and this is the worst program on the internet, The Blues. Eric achieved immortality in 1967 when a fan spray painted the words, "Clapton is God," on a North London wall. That graffiti was captured in a now famous photo in which a dog is seen urinating on that very wall. Perhaps that's sort of the reality check we all need from time to time. It does seem that Eric really did live the life of the blues. He was born March 30th, 1945, the product of a one-night stand from his 16-year-old mother and a 25-year-old Canadian soldier. He was raised by his maternal grandparents, believing that his grandmother and grandfather were in fact his biological parents and that his mother was his older sister. Eric found out the truth at the age of 9 when his mother returned to England. She had been living in Canada, was married to a different gentleman, and had a couple kids. And upon meeting his mother, I guess kind of for the first time, Eric asked her, "Can I come home with you? Can I join you and be part of the family in Canada?" His mom's response? No. It seems like she had no part in her current life for her past life. So she turned her back on her soon-to-be famous son and went about her business. And this seems to be a reoccurring theme in Eric Clapton's life, where even in amongst his incredibly successful career, there was these personal challenges that he just seemed to have to go through, just time and time again. Now, of course, we all know that Eric Clapton met and fell in love with Patty Harrison sometime in the late 1960s. Of course, she was married to Beatle George Harrison, who also happened to be one of Eric Clapton's best friends. And in 1970, after parting ways with the Yardbirds and John Mayall, Cream, Blind Faith, Delaney and Bonnie, and now as Derek in Derek and the Dominoes, Clapton recorded his landmark LP, Layla, and other assorted love songs. This blues-heavy LP featured a great guitar duo with Eric Clapton and Duane Allman. It was also just one long love letter to Patty. Now, upon completing the recording, he brought a copy to Patty and played it for her. I guess thinking that she would just fall in his arms. Unfortunately, the opposite happened. She freaked out. She did not like the album at all. In her mind, anyone who would hear this music would understand that Eric was speaking directly about her. And whatever level their relationship was at this point, you got to remember, she was still married to George Harrison. They would be married until 1977. So this was too much for her. So she turned her back and ran. And then 3 days later, Eric lost another person who was really important to him, that being guitarist Jimi Hendrix, who had passed away after an accidental overdose. Years later, Eric talked about that incident, saying that he was inconsolable and that he cried all day. Not just because he missed his friend, but because Jimmy had left him. He didn't take him with him. I guess in Eric's mind, this was just another person that he cared about who turned their back and ran. Kind of extreme, right? But then again, at this point, you got to realize Eric Clapton was a full-blown drug addict by this point. He had a heroin addiction and was spending about an estimated $16,000 a week on drugs. And I guess like a lot of addicts, he was delusional. He told himself stories to, I guess, make it all make sense. He figured that he wasn't a drug addict simply because he could afford the drugs. He was a rich rock star. In his mind, a drug addict was probably someone who was homeless, someone begging for change or stealing just to get their high. Eric never had to do that. Also, during those times when he did, I guess, think about possibly having an addiction, he also kind of wrote that off as, well, This is what happens to musicians, because a lot of his musical idols went through substance abuse problems. So this was just kind of par for the course, I guess. Now, Eric was actually able to kick heroin in somewhere around 1974, but in fact, all he really did was trade alcoholism for his drug addiction. And as bad as heroin is, alcoholism was even worse for Eric Clapton. He did say that at one point he thought about committing suicide, but rejected that idea just because if he died, he wouldn't be able to drink. He didn't want to kill him. He didn't want to stay alive or just to, protect family or those that he loved. No. The only thing he really cared about was just getting drunk, getting high. Apparently that's also just the addict's life. So Eric just kind of went about his business, recording albums that I think for most of us just weren't up to Eric Clapton's standards. It became known as his lost decade, which really probably lasted closer to 15 years or more. But in 1987, Eric Clapton finally became clean, and his career took off yet once again. It seems like he was now comfortable with his legacy. He was once again a guitar god, and his guitar playing was at the forefront. And whether this was making hit records, doing movie scores, recording with just all kinds of people. And if you want to find some really cool stuff when we're done here, I do recommend just typing in Eric Clapton duets, and well, you're going to find some really, really cool things going on. So Eric is at this point at the top of his career. He's got a girlfriend. He's got a kid. He's selling at records, selling out concert. Again, life is good. Until March 1991. That's when his 4-year-old son, Connor, fell from a 53rd floor window in New York. His child was obviously killed. Devastated, Eric did what I think he did probably most of his life. He turned inward towards his music and recorded the famous song, Tears in Heaven, which I guess was kind of a goodbye to his son, Connor. And that song just took off, as did the album that was featured on. That was the MTV Unplugged. That album went number one. Clapton won a Video Music Award for Best Male Vocalist for Tears in Heaven. And now the only 3-time member of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is on our Mount Rushmore of blues musicians. An honor that I think he just deserves so much. So now I want to feature a really nice piece of work from Eric Clapton. We're going back to 2001. The song is Have You Ever Loved a Woman? This features Nathan East on bass, Steve Gadd on drums, Andy Fairweather on guitar, and some really outstanding keyboard work by David Sanchez. If I'm saying that name correctly, I probably won't. And the legendary Billy Preston. And I know I got his name right. So, no further ado, as they say, Eric Clapton, 2001, Have You Ever Loved a Woman? That's what virtuosity is, making complex things seem easy. Love the delicacy here.
Have you ever loved a woman so much you tremble in bed? Have you ever loved a woman so much you tremble in bed? When all the time you know she bears another man's name. Have you ever loved a woman so much it's a shame and a sin? Have you ever loved a woman so much it's a shame and a sin?
This is David Sanchez. Again, my apologies for saying that name incorrectly. But he can play, can he? That's the "you're a bad man" look there. And now, ladies and gentlemen, for your listening pleasure, the legendary Billy Preston. There it is. Eric Clapton, Nathan E., Steve Gadd, Andy Fairweather, David Sanchez, and the great Billy Preston. I don't know about you, but when I hear music like this, oftentimes I feel this kind of a chill going through my body, and I'm still kind of shaky, to be perfectly honest with you. I hope you liked it. I really hoped you enjoyed that. I have seen this video clip probably a dozen times in the last 2 or 3 days, and the reaction just doesn't change. And I think that's what great music does to us. It speaks to us. It gives us something that I think that's just what we need as human beings. We need that artistic connection to something. And fortunately, at least for the time being anyway, we still got Eric Clapton and his band to give that to us. So once again, I want to thank you for joining me here on this program. Do me a favor. If you can, go ahead, hit the like button, subscribe as well, post a comment or shoot me an email. Let me know what you think about this video or other artists we can feature on the program. And of course, if you're looking for more poorly produced online content, don't forget about our other program, The Worst Program on the Internet, Sports, and hopefully I should have something new for you there pretty soon as well. Once again, I'm Steve Murray. I really appreciate the time and hope to see you again soon. Take care, my friends.